It's said that the spirit of the Mayan ancestors haunt these hills. It was from the rich soil of the Mayans that the Guatemala of today emerged. A proud people and a proud country. It is a country of stark contrast, the richest of all the Central American countries in terms of natural resources, but 85% of the population lives in poverty. 2% of the country owns 80% of the land. But those figures do little to put a face on those who suffer here the most, the Guatemalan children.
Here in Guatemala City, there are more than 5,000 children living in the streets. And the majority of them are either thieves, prostitutes, or glue sniffers. They themselves are the survivors of a civil war that's gone on for more than 40 years at the cost of thousands of lives. And yet, even they would be considered privileged when you compare them to the ones living in the fourth world.
Smoke clouds the sky and vultures fill the air as a repulsive stench permeates the area surrounding the Guatemala City dump. While the dump's residents go about the daily routine of scavenging to survive, an American woman goes about her chosen work of trying to make a difference here.
People make their houses out of cardboard or out of plastic bags or whatever, but they're usually pushed away and they have to build again in another place because the government comes in and plows through here. And they'll just plow through their homes if they need to. There's a stove on the left that they build from whatever they find there on the dump. You can imagine how sterile that is.
Kari Engen left her hometown of Rockville, Maryland in 1987 and set out on her own to fulfill a spiritual mission. This is her story. A story documented by filmmaker John Bafar. A presidential election first brought him to Guatemala in 1989. But soon after meeting Kari, he switched his focus and spent the next 9 years documenting her life and those around her. What follows is the end result of that effort.
Hello.
The reason that more than 1,000 children live in the Guatemala City dump can be blamed in part on the country's civil war. This war has claimed over 100,000 lives and left many children orphans with no skills and no place else to go. Over half of Guatemala's population of 10 million people live in Guatemala City. Most are Indian children who have come from the exterior or countryside, hoping to find work. More often than not, they are disappointed and soon turn to whatever survival tactics work: shoe shines, prostitution, begging, or petty theft. It's often not as much a choice as a necessity
15 quetzales.
to survive.
15? Yes, special price.
Nothing I have seen or read about has prepared me for the surreal quality of this environment. This 10-acre hellhole of refuse and humanity functioning as a kind of microcosm, its own little world. It is inconceivable to me that 4 generations of human beings have lived what they might consider a predictable everyday life in this horrific place.
They do the glue to get away the hunger pains that they have, or just to kind of get out of reality of really what they're living in. I know families that have been born there, raised there, they've married there, they have their own kids there, and it's their life, you know, and it's just been kind of a mundane thing all the time that they don't see any hope of getting a better situation and getting out of there.
To give them hope, Kari has devoted her life to the children of the Fourth World. In a place that's without running water, full of disease, and notoriously dangerous.
It can be violent, you know, you really have to pray hard when you go down there. You have people there that rob and steal, and they steal from the other homes, they burn down the other homes. They've had machete killings and machete fights. And some of the kids have told me, oh, we found my uncle down there. He was buried under the trash and they killed him the other night. You know, and they talk about all the blood. They don't talk about skinned knees or cut fingers. They talk about the dead people, you know, and all the blood that they see down there. Just the situations in which they live, it's awesome, you know, the way the kids fight with the vultures for the food. It's like a whole nother world. A lot of people call this the Fourth World because they all have their own way of living, their own way of working, and it's just a lot different than in the outside world. You can see right now they're just trying to get the best pickings that they can. Some people have different things that they pick at. They either get metal or plastic bags or plastic cartons. And if you go into someone else's territory, it can be trouble for you. Because if you start picking out metal when it's not your territory, they'll get on your case.
The eerie images, the cries from the children's hunger, and the faces of despair. They all tell a story of life in the Fourth World. But amongst all this filth and darkness is a light that shines on the people of the Fourth World. It's called Mi Refugio, my refuge. Skills are learned, meals are shared, and smiles are plentiful. And at this refuge, the children are able to escape the refuse of the dump and receive an education that gives hope for a better tomorrow. In 1987, Kari Engen started Mi Refugio, a place where the children of the dump could go and receive nourishment for the mind, body, and more importantly to Kari, the soul.
Buen día. Buen día. Señor Jesús, estamos muy agradecidos por este día, por la oportunidad de estar juntos con usted otra vez.
She began her mission work in Mexico, working with orphans while she was still in high school. Kari says it was divine inspiration that brought her here to Guatemala.
When I was younger, I would watch the TV and I'd see all those announcements, you know, for like the hungry and all the starving children in the world, and I really had a desire to want to help them. It was more of a desire to help the poor, not just the hungry, but poor children.